Hello, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to the 6th episode of Taste Test, wherein I test other booktubers' favorite books. As you can tell by the title of this video, I am going to be testing Jessie from Jessie the Reader's favorite books. I am super excited, as I am for most of my taste test videos, but especially for this one because while I adore Jessie and I watch all of his videos, I feel like I don't normally pick up a lot of Jessie's books that he talks about in his videos. I feel like on the surface level, I feel like our tastes don't necessarily align, but I'm gonna put that to the test today and I'm gonna see if Jessie's faves are ones that could potentially be my faves. So let me tell you about the 5 books that I have selected for this video. I'm very excited about my choices. I feel like they are just quintessential Jessie picks, and I really went through a lot of his backlist videos, his favorites videos back from 2017 to best of the decade, kind of ran the gamut, tried to find a good variety of books. Without further ado, let me tell you about those 5 books. The first one that I selected for this video is Frankly in Love by David Yoon, and I picked this book from Jessie's favorite books of 2019 video. This book is about a Korean-American boy named Frank Lee who is trying to date a white girl without his parents finding out. Now, to do so, he enlists the help of a girl named Joy at his school, who is the daughter of his parents' friends. So Joy is also Korean, and Joy is also dating a non-Korean boy. So Joy and Frank team up together and decide to fake date to fool their parents into thinking that, they have a significant other and that they're going to be going on dates, where they decide to, fake date and be able to actually date who they want to date. And I think things are going to get a little messy from there. So we shall see what happens in this book. I'm excited to pick this one up. It's one that I've heard very mixed things on, very mixed reviews, but I have high hopes. If Jessie liked it, I'm hoping that I'm gonna like it too. The next book that I selected for this video is Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. This was in both Jessie's Best of 2018 video and Best Books of the Decade video, so I felt like this was a pretty safe bet. And I picked this one because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. Obviously, it's an award winner, but on top of that, I don't read a lot of books in verse and I wanted to kind of step outside of my comfort zone, so I decided to pick this one up. From what I can tell, it is about a boy named Will who is trying to avenge his brother's death. His brother was a victim to gun violence, and Will decides that he is going to take it upon himself to avenge his brother's death. On the way down the elevator of his apartment building to go and avenge this death, he ends up stopping on each floor and a new person steps in from Will's past and kind of gets him thinking about whether or not he wants to continue on this cycle of violence. So I think this is going to be a really good book, really excited to pick it up. I have heard nothing but good things, so I think this one, at the very least, is going to be a hit. The next book that I picked for this video is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this is another one from Jessie's Best Books of the Decade video. This one I picked up primarily because it seems like everyone in the reviews on Goodreads for this book say that it made them cry, and I am nothing if not a little bit of an emo bitch, so I wanted to test something that was going to potentially draw up strong emotions in me. And from what I can tell, this book is about a boy named Connor whose mom is really ill, and ever since his mother has been ill, he starts getting these recurring dreams, and I think a monster stars in those dreams, which I think would make sense given, A Monster Calls being the title of the book. Speaking of monsters, the next book I picked was Little Monsters by Kara Thomas, and this one was in Jessie's Best Books of 2017 video. Like I said, I did go back and try to see what books Jessie has liked in the past, and this one I picked up because it's a YA mystery thriller, which is not something that I normally pick up, but the ones that I have picked up I have enjoyed, so I thought this could be a safe bet, and all of my friends in the Goodreads review seem to really like it. I'm all for making good, educated bets, if you will. This one is about a girl named Casey who moves to a new town, and she makes some new friends in this new town, and one of those friends goes missing, and I think we're going to try to find out what happened to the friend. And then for my last pick, I think it kind of goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. I picked Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom. This was in Jessie's Best Books of the Decade video. I mean, are we surprised? I'm unsurprised. This book, from what I can tell, is about a boy named Jacob who is trying to figure out the secrets behind this mysterious school that his grandfather has been talking about for years. Jacob's grandfather has recently passed away, and so I think that is the push that Jacob needs to go and see what this school is all about. So I'm very interested to see if I end up enjoying this book. It came out in 2011, which has me a little bit scared, but I'm hoping that this is something that I'm going to like. It seems sort of like paranormal, kind of spooky, and I like all of those things, so I'm hoping that this one is a hit for me too. But that's it. Those are the 5 books that I'm going to be taste testing for this video. Stay tuned to hear my thoughts and whether or not my taste aligns with Jessie's. So let's get into it. Okay, I actually have low battery, so hopefully I can do this quickly. Okay, I am 50% into Frankly in Love by David Yoon, and I'm not sure how to feel. I remember a lot of people being disappointed by this book, but I am so, I don't say so far removed from the release of this book, but I didn't really follow people's review. It wasn't a book that I was initially super interested in, and so I didn't really look closely at other people's reviews as to like why they didn't enjoy this book, etc. So I kind of went in blind, right? Just expecting that it would probably be just okay, and I don't know how to feel about it because there's so many elements in this book that I do enjoy and appreciate, but there's a lot that's just not working for me. So let me kind of describe the book. I definitely did in the beginning of this video, but let's rehash it. So this book is about a boy named Frank Lee, and he is Korean American. He is a senior in high school. His parents are putting a lot of pressure on him to get into Harvard, and at the same time he is just really interested in dating, so he ends up dating this white girl named Britt, and his parents would definitely not approve of him dating a white girl. They want him to date within his own culture, and so that's sort of like the main conflict of this book. To solve this conflict, or to attempt to solve it, he decides to fake date a girl named Joy. Joy has a boyfriend who is Chinese, I believe, and Joy's parents would not approve of her dating a Chinese boy. Joy is Korean, I don't know if I said that. So Frank pretends to date Joy so that his parents will get off his back and he can like go have dates with Britt. Here's the thing. I think there's really important discussions being had in this book, and I wish it would dive deeper into those discussions. I think the talks of dating within your own culture and having parents who are pretty fucking racist, even if they're not white parents, is important to have, right? Because I think this is something that other people definitely experience, and so it's definitely something that's relatable. However, I wish there was not even more commentary really, but I wish that this was something that was addressed more, because it feels very surface level, and getting 60% into the book, it's kind of evident that this is not something that's really going to come to light. Just with the way that things are going, that's very vague, but I wish that that was more of a focal point of this book, because whenever Frank does talk about his parents and how they are kind of racist, you get some really good commentary there, and I think that that's kind of where the book could really shine if it focused more on that. And then you've got the fake dating thing, which I really hate, and I think it's because I don't care about either of their relationships. As you could probably guess, I knew this going into the book because it's just so obvious from the synopsis, but Frank ends up falling for Joy, the girl that he is fake dating. But I didn't care about his relationship with Britt. I had no idea why he was with her, and I also didn't understand, or I also still don't understand because the book's not over, why he is into Joy. Beyond just her making him laugh, there really haven't been very many interactions between the two of them to lead me to believe that they should be together. And I get that this is a YA contemporary, and that, like, no offense to YA contemporary writers, the relationships are usually underdeveloped, and as a romance reader, I'm expecting a little bit more. I don't know, it's frustrating because I want to root for one of the relationships in this book, since the relationships are obviously the driving force in this book, but I just don't care. And like I said, it's frustrating because there are little hints of joy. It'd be so much little hints of joy, huh? I didn't mean like the character. They're little hints of really goodness and greatness, and I really think that David Yoon could be a great writer. That sounds bad, as if he's not a good writer. I'm not trying to insult him. I'm just saying this book is not it for me, and I'd be interested to read more from him in the future, but right now, at this point, I'm disappointed. And I think that's why I'm talking so much, because I just genuinely am disappointed. I'm not mad, this is not a terrible book, but I wanted more. I can understand why Jesse likes it. It's definitely different than anything I've ever read. I will say another critique, I guess, is that I wish that this was targeted at a different age demographic, because I feel like while he's 17 or 18, reads, in my opinion, more like a 15 or 16-year-old. I like that this is written slightly younger, because again, we get a lot of, I feel like, the same voice over and over when it comes to like age for YA characters, and I like that Frank kind of reads a little younger, so that's kind of fun. It's like a complaint that they made him 18, but also I do appreciate the way that it's written. So I don't know, lots of thoughts. I don't know how this is going to resolve. I don't know. What a way to start this video. This is the one that I was most hesitant to pick up, so I will say that. I think all of the other books are probably going to be like off the charts amazing, so if this one was just kind of a miss for me, that's fine. YA contemporary is not usually my genre anyway, but I am going to power through. It is Monday at like 10 o'clock, and I am going to finish this tomorrow. I'm hoping to like do this video in a week. We'll see if it happens, but yeah, I'll update you guys tomorrow morning when I finish this book. Trying to muster some enthusiasm because today's reading has not been my favorite. I also took a break yesterday because I just like was not feeling reading, so let that impact your viewing experience, because it has impacted my enjoyment of book experience, if that makes sense. I don't think I would have loved this book had my reading and like life been better at the moment, but anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's been a time. Let's talk about Frankly in Love by David Yoon. I didn't love this book. I think I'm gonna have to give it 2 stars. I was going between 2 and 3 stars, and I was going to give it 3 stars except for the ending. I just feel like there were so many disparate parts of this book that just never fully came together, which was really disappointing. I guess in some ways it was nice because there weren't a lot of cliches that were employed. I say that. There's one cliche thing, I think, that happened at the end of this book, but in general, I did appreciate the fact that this was just a story about this boy's life and his experiences, and it felt like a fresh and new take on that. I'd never read a book, I don't think, from a Korean American boy's perspective, so that was nice. However, I just didn't love the way everything came together, and I really didn't love Frank's voice as a narrator. I think a lot of people, that was their main complaint about the book, and it definitely is mine too. I don't know, I wanted so much more from this. I feel like all of the most interesting parts were just surface level, and then the less interesting parts got a lot of page time. I think last time that I spoke to you guys, we were about in the middle of the book, and Frank had just started dating a girl named Joy, who his parents approved of, and that sort of changes. I mean, he's still dating Joy as the book continues on, but it is no longer something that like impresses his family, and I think he starts to realize that he has to kind of live his life for himself and not his parents. And then some things happen with his parents later on in the book that also get him to reevaluate his relationship with them and his relationship with his culture, which I thought was interesting, and it's just something I'd never explored before in YA. So I'm glad that I read it in that regard. I loved the elements of Korean and Korean American culture that were included. I don't know. There were some things that I liked about this book. Ultimately, though, it just didn't come together in a way that I thought was impactful, and I think that's kind of the reason why I don't love YA contemporary in general. I think it can either be, you know, a story that's really wrapped up in a nice tight bow and it has like this lesson to teach you and it kind of can read as cheesy, or it just kind of plods along and nothing really happens and you're kind of like, what was the point? I feel like that's kind of the 2 camps that YA contemporary falls into for me, and this book definitely fell into the latter category. So I don't know, I guess just depending on your preference, this might be something better for you because it is a little more realistic, but it just didn't do what I wanted it to do. I can definitely understand why Jesse likes this. There are elements of the story that I did like, and I know that Jesse is a really big fan of Korean culture, so I totally understand why he would love this book. It just wasn't really something for me. But now we can talk about the book that I started today, Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. So I am only halfway into this book and I don't know how to feel. I think I'm enjoying it, but I think it's also too soon to tell. I think it's one of those books that kind of throws you into the middle of the action and you don't really know how you're going to feel until the end of the book. But from what I can tell, this book is about a boy named Will, and his brother has just passed away. He was shot by a guy who is in a gang, or at least that is what Will believes, and at the beginning of the book he decides that he's going to get revenge on the person that killed his brother. So he grabs a gun, puts it in his I don't say back pocket, he puts it in the waistband of his jeans, hops on the elevator, and then he starts his descent down. On the way down, he is, what's the word I'm looking for? I was about to say accosted. He's definitely not accosted. He is faced with some important questions. He is faced by people from his past, and I think he is sort of, at least from what I can tell, going to be taught different lessons about gun violence and maybe led to reconsider his thoughts about seeking revenge for his brother's death. Heavy topic. This audiobook is a lot shorter than I had anticipated. It's only 2 hours long, so I'm wondering how much of an emotional impact this book is going to punch. And I definitely am now seeing a kind of trend, I guess. Two books out of 5 is not necessarily a trend, but I know some of the other books have similar themes. I can definitely tell that Jesse enjoys books that have heavy topics or deal with topics of grief, which makes sense. I think he has mentioned it in some of his favorites videos before, but you can definitely tell that in this book. And I like it. It's a good perspective. This is a book that I've been meaning to pick up for a really long time, so I'm glad that I have picked it up. I don't know what to expect. I don't know if this is going to be a book that really impacts me. I'm hoping that it does, but again, you're kind of thrown into the middle of the action, and right now I don't have any like strong feelings or opinions either way, so we'll see. Definitely an interesting concept though. I like it. It kind of gives me like Christmas Carol vibes. But anyway, I'm gonna continue. I'm definitely going to be finishing this book tonight, and then I will update you and we can move on to the next 3 books. I was supposed to be posting this video tomorrow, but you know what? life sometimes doesn't go as planned, and it's fine because I am going to enjoy and savor these books for longer, so I'm excited about that. This is not the best angle. You know what? We're gonna work with it. Okay, so I just finished Long Way Down, and I don't think I'm going to rate it right now. I might at the end of the video. I think it's just one of those books that you need to kind of like sit with a little bit. I think it went maybe a little bit too fast for me. I feel like I need to reread it almost to really get the full impact of the story, but it's very powerful, and I did really appreciate the way that this was told in verse, and I don't know, it got me thinking about a lot of things that I had not previously thought about. So that's, I don't want to say important, but that is all that you can really ask for from a book like this. So I'm pleased with it. I thought it was really good, but again, I don't know if I would even really, you know what? No, I'm not going to rate this book. I don't know if I could quantify my feelings about this book, but I'd highly recommend it. It's a very short read, and I think at the very least it'll get you to think a little bit. I just, the message about gun violence I think is so interesting, and I love the way that this book ended. I think in general I'm the kind of person that kind of does like being thrown into the middle of the action with books, not knowing a lot about a character's backstory, but only being with them for this one point in their life to get them from point A to point B, you know? Like, our whole life is a big journey, but like, you know, it's made up of tiny journeys. So this was good. I'd recommend it. I can understand why Jesse likes this book and why it was one of his favorites. Now I think, you know what, the world's our oyster. What of the next 3 books are we going to start next? I'm in the mood for Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I think that's what I'm going to start in on next, which I feel like I should probably save that one for last, but you know what, fuck it. I'm just gonna throw it in smack dab in the middle, and we're gonna get into it. Hello, happy Thursday. Today has been a day. It is like 9:30. Actually, I think it's probably closer to 10 now. And I am 50% into Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I'm a little annoyed that this is the first time that I'm updating you guys. It's just been a lot. This week has been a lot from a work perspective. I feel like I never am busy at work, to be honest. Like, I'm always doing things, but it's not crazy enough usually to where I can't, you know, tune in with an audiobook and just like do stuff while I'm working. But lately I've just been really having to like focus on the things that I'm doing at work and just getting all kinds of like random requests. Just, it's been a lot. Not that that's exciting or interesting, but I just feel like I need some context and perspective for you guys, because I feel like this has not been the most zesty and fun vlog, but I am having a really good time reading Jesse's faves, and I have to say, from what I've read so far, I actually am really enjoying this. I, you know, was really scared after finishing that first book. It's always so interesting, in my opinion, more so than any of my other videos, to see how things go, how I like other people's faves, but I'm really enjoying this. I had no idea what to expect. This is a book that I think a lot of people have read. I think it came out in like 2011, and it was one that I feel like I constantly saw at the bookstore and was always mildly interested in, but just never picked up. I think it didn't speak to the kind of reader I was back when it came out, which was there must be romance in everything I read, that kind of reader. I'm still that way. But I think that's probably the main reason I didn't pick it up before now. I think that this is good depending on what you go in expecting and what you want from a book, I guess. I think by looking at the cover and maybe the synopsis, you might get the idea that this is going to be kind of a creepy book, sort of American Horror Story freak show-esque, like just strange, and that's not really the vibe, but I'm liking the vibe of the book. We start off the book with our main character Jacob, and he is in an interesting position. He's working at his family's like Walgreens, essentially. His family owns like a chain of Walgreens, and he's, you know, tasked with eventually taking over, and so he's working this summer job that he hates, and he is kind of trying to figure some things out with regards or in regards to his grandfather. His grandfather lived through World War II, and I think he escaped from Nazis, and he has just always had a lot of stories to tell, right? He's always been kind of seen as this eccentric old man, but Jacob has always believed his stories about these peculiar people that his grandfather used to know. He has like pictures of these people. I don't think I'm doing a good job describing this, but his grandfather passes away sort of unexpectedly. Even though everybody thinks his grandfather is just, again, kind of this kooky old man, he decides that he wants to figure out more about his grandfather's past, and his grandfather gives him the name and, like, I'll say resting place, but the name of someone to go and like seek answers from. That's what Jacob does. He ends up convincing his father to go to the UK over the summer. They decide to spend some time there, and Jacob kind of goes off on his own and finds some things about these peculiar children. I can't talk. I also can't say peculiar right, so that's a thing. It's very slow moving. It's kind of atmospheric. It's giving me sort of like Spider-Wit Chronicles vibes. I did never read the books, but I'm pretty sure there's a movie. I could be wrong. It's giving me that kind of vibe. Like it definitely is bringing me back to 2011 in the best possible way. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about it. I'm liking the, I don't know, I don't want to say like exploration of certain themes, but you can tell that grief is definitely a component of this. That's kind of one of the driving factors in Jacob's exploration, or like him trying to find out more about his grandfather's past. It's grief fueled, and then also his father's relationship with his grandfather I think is also something that's interesting, that's explored here, and how, I don't know, I'm not doing a good job at describing things today. Shit, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I'm not meant to be a booktuber. I'm interested to see where things go. We just got into kind of the pivotal moment where Jacob discovers what he's supposed to find, I guess you could say, and I don't know where things are going to go from here. I mean, I know this is a book series, so what is this book setting up? Does this book work well enough on its own? I don't know. I really don't know, but it's exactly what I need. It's nothing groundbreaking. I don't think that this is like some crazy genre bending book, but I'm enjoying it so far. You know what? Yes, I did change shirts so you guys wouldn't think that I filmed the intro the same day that I'm filming this clip, but you know what? I just thought I'd be honest. I did just film the intro for this video, and now I'm gonna be filming a ton of clips after the fact. Anyway, I ended up finishing Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and I think I'm gonna give this book 3 stars. I enjoyed it. I don't enjoy my camera falling over. I enjoyed it. I don't know that this was like life-changing, groundbreaking, etc., but it was good. And I think a lot of the negative reviews, I just don't understand. Like I don't get it. So I feel like this book tied up fairly well, and I think it set up the next book pretty well as well. Okay. Words are not with me today, clearly. But the only like major complaint that I had about this book is that I wish a little bit more had happened, and I wish it had been slightly less info dumpy. And by that, I don't think that there was just a ton of stuff that was overwhelming. I just think that some of the like world building aspects of this could have been introduced in a slightly more sophisticated way throughout the story, because there was a lot of build up at the very beginning of the story. Jacob trying to get to the home for peculiar children. Wow, I cannot say the word peculiar, god damn it. But I wish some of the introduction to this book had been cut down just a tad, and that we would have gotten more time with Jacob in this world, and him kind of exploring it and then figuring some of these things out without having to be told explicitly from other characters. That's like my least favorite form of world building, I think, is having the main character ask someone knowledgeable in the world like what's going on, and then they just tell the main character like everything that this world's about. There were a couple of instances of that in this book, so I think it was a little lazy in that regard, but I liked the world, and I did like the overall tone of this book. Like I said, I think it's the Spider-Wit Chronicles movie where they like go underground. I don't fucking know. For some reason this is just reminding me of that, and I don't know why. This is not like underground and it has none of the same like plot points, but it just gives me those vibes. It really does bring me back to early high school days, I guess, which I guess kind of makes sense given when this was written, but it gave me kind of a nostalgia, even though this is not necessarily a nostalgic read for me. I did like this. I thought it was good. I have 2 books to read today because it's Saturday and I'm trying to post this video on Sunday, so I think the first one I'm going to start out with is the shorter of the 2, and it's A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I am excited to read this one. This is the only book that I'm not going to be listening to on audio. I have the physical copy of it, and I'm just excited. I feel like this one is going to perhaps, I shouldn't make assumptions here, but I think perhaps it's going to do what I wanted this book to do, and what that is kind of like a metaphor for grief. I kind of want that. Like I want to feel emotional. I know from the reviews of this book, everybody seems to get emotional reading it. So please make me cry, book. I need that. I'm feeling nothing inside. So let's get the emotions up. Okay, hello. Different filming setup. Sorry if you can hear my ceiling fan. I don't think it was installed properly and it's kind of noisy, but I'm 35 pages into A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I don't know how to feel about it. I don't like the writing, which is surprising me because I thought that was going to be the big selling point of this, that it is short, and I thought it was going to be kind of like beautiful and impactful. So far, it's not that, but I am intrigued by the story. Our main character, Connor, is obviously going through a lot. His mom has cancer. I think it's like pretty obvious. She's very sick, and he is having to basically take care of himself and his mom. And he's also being bullied at school, and it's kind of hinted at as to why he's being bullied. I don't want to jump ahead or spoil the book for anyone that's not read it, but I think it's pretty, I don't know, I think it's hinted at that he's probably gay. And this monster keeps recurring in his nightmares. The monster might be real. It's this like big tree creature that comes visit him every night. And this time the monster visits him and says like, hey, I'm gonna tell you 3 stories and then you're gonna tell me a 4th story and it's gonna be your truth. And Connor's like, oh no, like I don't want to have to tell him my secret. And I don't know, for like some reason I'm thinking it's that he's gay. I could totally be wrong there. It would be nice because it's Pride Month, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not like far enough into the story to really like give full thoughts or opinions, but I'm just feeling kind of like meh about it. And I can't tell if that's because of the story itself or just because of like me as a person right now in my life. So I'm gonna keep reading. I'll let you guys know at about the halfway point if I have any zesty thoughts and feelings. I am 101 pages into this book and I'm liking it more. We're finally getting into the meat of the story. The monster is finally telling the stories. We just finished the 2nd story and I like them because while they teach you a lesson, it's not the lesson that you expect to get. I think there are definitely going to be stories that help our main character Connor, but Connor's family sucks so bad. I mean, his mom's awesome, like from what I can tell, but his life just sucks and this book is just really sad. I mean, I said I wanted a story about grief, so like I guess this is kind of that. I mean, his mom's not dead, but I mean, I'm getting the depressing, I guess. I don't have much else to say. I'll let you guys know how I feel when I'm done. Okay. I need to get it together. That was really good. I was wrong about the gay part, I will say. That was not the secret, which I'm glad about in hindsight because I don't think it would have worked at all. But there was this like bullying aspect at the beginning and I figured that like I'd have a crush on one of his bullies because that's just something that fucking happens in books, but it didn't happen in this one and the story really stayed true to the whole like grief aspect, which I really appreciated. I would recommend it if you want to cry. I'm sure everybody's already read this book by now. I feel like everybody's read this book, but yeah, I mean, artfully handled the subject of grief and loss in a way that I think doesn't tell you necessarily how to feel, which is like my biggest, you know, thing about books. You guys know this about me. I don't really like books that tell you how to feel. This book definitely like takes you on a journey, and I think if you are grieving or you have been through a grief process, this I think is just very validating. Yeah, I can tell why Jesse likes this, and I think that's kind of a recurring theme that I've seen in like all of these books. Is it all? Yeah, pretty much all these books. There's an element of grief and loss and how to cope with that. Can't believe you put me through this. I mean, I put myself through it obviously, but like, Jesse, you like sad shit. So glad I read this finally. Again, like this and A Long Way Down are books that I've just had on my TBR forever and just haven't picked up. Honestly, same with this Peregrine. All of these books deal with grief. I swear if this next one, if this YA mystery thriller makes me cry, I'm out. How did I pick all of the like kind of low-key sad books? I don't know. It's just, it's my life, which is kind of good because I'm sort of in a depressive episode at the moment. And I don't feel anything emotionally when I'm depressed. So this is bringing out the emotions, which I kind of like. I kind of appreciate. I need to feel something. So I will say that in the middle of reading this book, I paused it to start the next book, Little Monsters by Kara Thomas. So let's talk about that. I'm so sorry my AC just kicked on if you can hear it, but this book is good and it's kind of creepy and I don't know what to think about it. Our main character, can't remember her name, it's some white bitch name. She is dealing with a lot. She just moved to this new town. Her mom was raising her before. I say raising her, her mom was like her caretaker, but was doing a shit job at it. And after a series of unfortunate events, she goes and lives with her dad that she's never really known before, her dad and her stepmother, and then her half-sister and her stepbrother. And she's living a pretty idyllic life. Idyllic? How do you say that word? I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments down below. I can't pronounce shit because I'm stupid. She lives in Wisconsin. She has a couple best friends, and her 2 best friends, her and her sister, go to this like barn in the middle of the night one night because they're gonna examine this spooky old barn or like house that a bunch of people died in. Because, you know, what else can you do in Wisconsin on the weekends? So they go and check this thing out, and then kind of spooks them, and they decide to go home. And then the next week, the following week, the 2 girls, Bailey and Jade, our main characters, like best friends, Bailey and Jade. How do I not even remember the main character's name? I'm dumb. Bailey and Jade go to a party. Bailey was supposed to invite our protagonist. She didn't invite our protagonist, and then Bailey goes missing. Who done it? You know, who did it? I don't know. It could be the creepy football player, but I kind of feel like it's our protagonist. I feel like our protagonist killed Bailey. I don't know if that's probably so like not it, but we'll see if that's it. It is, however, 10:36. Sadly, I still have 2 hours of this audiobook left. I mean like 6 hours, but you know, 3 times speed. I'm probably going to read another hour of this and then hit you guys up tomorrow morning and then finish that last hour because I'm tired. I would like to be like fresh for when I talk more about this book and then also wrap up this vlog. Wow, I can't speak. Hello, happy Sunday. It's like 9:30 and I'm gonna knock this video out. So I only have an hour left of the audiobook of Little Monsters by Kara Thomas, and I'm liking it so far. I really didn't know what to expect because YA mystery thriller has been sort of like up and down for me. Some I've really enjoyed, some I thought have been kind of lame. This one has been pretty interesting and I genuinely have no idea who I think did it. This girl Bailey is still missing. Our main character Casey is trying to kind of solve this mystery, and now people are kind of maybe starting to think that Casey did it. That's always fun and exciting. There's also sort of like a maybe supernatural element. I can't tell if it's going to take that path or not, but like I said, the girls did a seance like a week before Bailey went missing, and so does that have anything to do with it? I don't know. I mean, I'm expecting good things, but I don't have much else to say because it's a mystery thriller, you know? Like, until you're done with the book, you can't really give like articulate thoughts because that's really where all the action happens. So I'll get back to you when I'm done. We can talk about the end of this book and then wrap this whole video up. Okay, so I finished Little Monsters and I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I actually ended up really enjoying it, and I definitely didn't see the whodunit like coming, I guess. Like I didn't anticipate who done it. I don't want to tell you like what ended up happening at the end, but it was good. It was not convoluted, which I appreciated. I was wondering if it was going to try to do something like stupid, you know, like a mistaken identity, stupid plot twist kind of thing that I hate, but this didn't do that. So like that's all I can really ask for. It's just eerie. I don't know, it's kind of creepy and I appreciated it. But now we can officially wrap up this video. I have read 5 of Jesse's favorite books and I feel like I learned a lot. I really enjoyed doing this. These books are pretty outside of my comfort zone, I would say, and I realized as I was reading them that 4 of the 5 had male narrators, which is not something that I'm used to because I typically, I guess unwittingly or like unknowingly, pick up books with female narrators, so it was nice to have that change of pace. That was just something that I observed as I was reading. Overall, I had a really good time with this challenge, and even though some of the books weren't necessarily hits for me, I can definitely now tell what sorts of like taste me and Jesse have in common, and when he recommends a book I can better tell if it's one that I want to pick up, if that makes sense. So let's go through the books. First one that I read for this challenge was Frankly in Love by David Yoon. Gave this book 2 stars. This was definitely the low point of this challenge for me, but thankfully it was the first book that I read, so everything was like up from there. It just wasn't my perfect read, but I did appreciate what this book did, and I think if you have a really big interest in Korean culture that this might be something that you enjoy, or if you just want like a slice of life sort of contemporary with a fake dating element, I think this might be great for you. The next book that I read was Long Way Down by Reynolds. I really enjoyed this book. I don't know that I rated it. I don't think I did rate it at the beginning. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It was really good. I don't think it's one that's going to really stick with me long term, but I did appreciate what this book did. I like that it was told in verse, and I like that it sort of questions the cycle of violence and cycle of gun violence, so that was really good. I really did like this book. The next book that I read for this video was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. This book I gave 3 stars. I really appreciated the nostalgic feel of it. I liked that it had sort of a paranormal element, and I did like the brief kind of mention and or theme of grief in this. I thought it was handled well. I wish it had been just a little bit more present in the story, but I did like it. I did like the way that it set up for the second book in the series. Next book that I read for this video was Monster Calls by Ness. Gave this book 5 stars. Excellent. Like just so good. I'm sure you guys could tell by my crying, but so good. Really handled grief in a way that I was not expecting. I thought that I knew what the book was going in, and it wasn't like completely worlds different, but I think it did an even better job at kind of exploring these themes without again telling you how to feel. And then lastly I read Little Monsters by Kara Thomas, which I'm gonna give 4 stars. It was a good YA thriller. I think this is probably the best of the YA thrillers that I've read, so if you're looking for a thriller that might be a little bit more accessible if you've never read a thriller before, I think this is definitely one to check out, and it is thoroughly creepy, so I did appreciate that. So that is it from me. I have read all of these books. I had a really good time, like I said, exploring Jesse's faves, but that's it. I love you guys so much. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time.